Hello, and welcome to Midnight Affairs Tales. Your support means everything to us. We'd love to know, which geographical location are you joining from today? At home, on the go, share with us below now. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The steak she didn't touch. I stared at the plate in front of her. Medium rare ribeye, truffle mashed potatoes. Her favorite. She hadn't touched a thing. Rachel was 3 feet away, but it felt like she was across the damn world. Elbows off the table, posture perfect, phone screen lighting up every few seconds. She wasn't even pretending to be present. I tried to smile. You okay? She blinked, snapped out of whatever world she was in. Yeah, just tired. Long day. But she didn't look tired. She looked like she wanted to be anywhere else. I chewed slower than usual. My gut twisted with something cold. She used to light up during these dinners. Now her eyes were on her lap, tapping under the table, then fake laughing at some message. I knew that laugh. It wasn't for me. Then I saw it. A corner of something poked out from under her bread plate. Napkin. Receipt? Nope. A folded note. Handwritten. I don't even know why I grabbed it. Instinct, I guess. I slid it toward me while she wasn't looking. Unfolded it. 6 words. Scrawled in rushed ink. He knows. Say nothing. Get out. My throat dried up instantly. She looked up. Saw the paper in my hand. Her face drained white, like someone pulled her plug. I didn't say a word. She dropped her fork. I stared at her. She opened her mouth, closed it again. Then I leaned back slowly, heart pounding. Smiled like I hadn't just read a F*********** ing death sentence to our marriage. Dessert. She nodded too quickly. No. I'm full. So was I. Full of questions. Who the hell wrote that note? And what exactly does she think I know? Hey everyone, we've just hit 4,000 subscribers on Midnight Affairs Tales, and I couldn't be more grateful for your love and support. Your passion for deep, emotional, and shocking stories has helped build something truly special here. Now, I've quietly started a new channel. It's called Betrayal Stories Lab. It's a place where I'll share even more powerful stories, full of betrayal, unexpected twists, and unforgettable endings. If you've enjoyed the journey so far, I'd love for you to check it out and be part of this new beginning. Channel link is in the description. Just one click and you're there. Let's grow this new space together. Our first goal is 1,000 subscribers. And if any story touches you, don't forget to share it. Thank you for always being here. Now let's continue story. Back home, she curled up on the couch with her laptop and a glass of wine, like nothing had happened. But I was still thinking about that note. The handwriting. The urgency. It wasn't hers. I was sure of that. It was rushed, almost panicked. I couldn't shake the look she gave me at the restaurant. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. And not just fear of getting caught. Fear of something else. I'm gonna shower, she said, barely looking at me. I nodded. Take your time. As soon as the bathroom door shut, I opened her purse. I'd never done that before. Felt like crossing a moral line, but whatever line existed between us had already been erased tonight. Wallet, lip balm, gum, phone, not here. She never leaves her phone out of sight. My mind sprinted in 100 directions. Was she cheating? Was someone threatening her? Blackmail? I turned on our hallway light. That's when I saw it. Her gym bag, sitting by the door, and sticking out of the front pocket, a second phone. I stared at it for a few seconds like it might explode. Then I picked it up and opened it. No passcode. The first message at the top read, "Same time tomorrow?" Sent by someone saved only as E. Her voice came from down the hall. "Babe? Where's the lavender shampoo?" I swallowed hard. Check the cabinet under the sink. I slid the phone back into the bag like it never left. Heart pounding. Rachel stepped out, towel in her hair, smiling like she was still my wife. But she wasn't. She just didn't know I knew. Not yet. I didn't sleep that night. Rachel lay beside me, scrolling through Instagram like everything was normal. She turned off her phone at 11:03 p.m., rolled over, and within minutes, her breathing evened out. I stared at the ceiling. My mind locked on that one letter. I had one coworker with a name that started with E. Ethan. We weren't close. But we weren't strangers either. We'd shared drinks after meetings, smoked cigars at a company retreat last fall. He told me he was going through a divorce. Said he still believed in love, even when it didn't believe in him. That bastard. Couldn't be him, could it? I pulled my own phone out quietly and scrolled through Rachel's Instagram. I tapped back through old posts. Summer party. There, a blurry group pic on a boat. Rachel in a red bikini. Ethan, in the background, holding 2 drinks. His eyes weren't on the camera. They were locked on her. I zoomed in. He was looking at her like I used to, and she was smiling at someone off-frame. Not me. I kept scrolling. Another post. Office gala. Ethan again, this time closer. Rachel had tagged everyone but him. She knew what she was hiding. My fingers went numb. I turned and looked at her. Peaceful. Breathing soft. Wearing the t-shirt I bought her 3 Christmases ago, the one that said, "I choose you." She never said it anymore. Now I knew why. The next morning, she made coffee like usual. "I might hit yoga after work," she said casually, avoiding eye contact. I smiled. Sounds good. But in my head, something snapped into place. Tomorrow at the same time. Yoga. She wasn't stretching. She was *****ing him. And I was done pretending I didn't know. The next night, she came home late. Yoga ran long, she said, dropping her keys into the bowl by the door. Her ponytail was too perfect. Not a hair out of place. No sweat. No yoga mat. I stood in the kitchen with a beer in hand and nodded like I bought it. All good. Leftovers in the fridge. She barely looked at me. Walked straight to the bedroom. I stayed still for a moment, then followed quietly, but not into our room. I walked into the guest room instead. It was the room we used when one of us was sick. Clean. Empty. Cold. It's where I'd be sleeping from now on. Rachel didn't ask why, and I didn't explain. I closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and opened a notepad on my phone. Title, Proof. Entry number 1. Burner phone. Confirmed entry number 2. Contact, Likely Ethan entry number 3. Rachel lies about yoga. 2 nights in a row entry number 4. Needs confirmation. Video or audio. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. If I was going to do this, I needed real proof. Something undeniable. Something legal. Something that would hit where it hurts. That night, I lay there in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling fan. It spun slowly, like time had thickened around me. And through the wall, I could hear her soft laugh as she texted someone, not me. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Keep laughing." Because soon, she'd be laughing into an empty room. And I'd be the one holding the silence. I called in sick the next morning. Not because I was sick. Not in the way they meant. I went to the hardware store. Bought a small Wi-Fi camera, one that could be hidden inside an air vent. No wires. No clicking. Motion activated. Clear audio. Back home, Rachel was already gone. Perfect. I unscrewed the vent cover in the living room, the one facing the couch. That couch where I knew she'd sat, curled up in someone else's arms, while I was out working late or grabbing groceries for her favorite pasta. I positioned the camera just right, angled low, invisible to anyone who didn't know where to look. Reattached the cover. Synced it to my private cloud. By the time she walked through the door that evening, the trap was set. I pretended to be fine. She kissed my cheek like she always did, quick, surface level, like a chore. Then she asked, "Mind if I watch my show?" I nodded. "Go ahead." She grabbed a blanket and flopped onto the couch with her laptop and earbuds. The camera recorded everything. Later that night, I sat in the guest room again, reviewing footage from the app. Nothing out of the ordinary yet. But I wasn't just after one scene. I was building a case. Every lie was a brick. Every excuse, a nail in the coffin. She wasn't going to see it coming. I watched her yawn, sip wine, and check her burner phone. She didn't even bother hiding it anymore. Not from me. Because in her mind, I was still asleep. But I was more awake than I'd ever been. 2 nights later, she went to yoga again. I stayed home, pretending to be down with a stomach bug. She barely blinked. Kissed me on the forehead and said, "Rest up." An hour later, the front door unlocked. But she wasn't alone. I was in the guest room, sitting in the dark, listening through the hallway wall. Their voices were low, but not careful enough. His voice was unmistakable. "Ethan, you sure he's really sick?" he asked. Rachel laughed. "He's clueless. He thinks I'm doing yoga stretches." He laughed, too. Stretching with me is better anyway. I clenched my jaw. Fists tight. I didn't walk out. I didn't scream. I let it roll. Let them talk. Ethan, you ever think about telling him? Rachel, why? So he can cry and beg? He's not the man I married anymore. Ethan, so who is? Rachel, you. I almost threw up. 10 years. Vacations. Fights. Inside jokes. Late-night fast food runs. All wiped out in one line. You. He's not the man I married. You are. But I wasn't broken. I was boiling. I waited until they left. Then I replayed the vent cam footage. Clear voices. Clear faces. Ethan's hand on her thigh. Her smiling like she hadn't in years, like I'd never existed. I downloaded the file and saved it in a new folder. Label, Day 1, Admission. This wasn't just cheating. This was betrayal at full volume. And I wasn't documenting this for pity. I was building a funeral for her lies. One video at a time. Friday night. Rachel sat on the back patio, barefoot, wine glass in hand, phone pressed to her ear. She thought I was asleep again. What she didn't know was the sliding door was cracked open just enough. Her voice floated in on the breeze like poison in perfume. I don't know what I feel anymore, she whispered. With Jake, it's like I'm playing a part. A long silence followed. I imagined the friend on the other end nodding, validating, enabling. I loved him once, she continued, her voice tighter now. But somewhere along the way it died. And Ethan, he sees me, makes me feel alive again. I stood in the shadows, feet rooted to the hardwood, heart thudding like a warning drum. He doesn't ask questions, she added. Doesn't make me feel guilty for being unhappy. Another pause. No, I don't think he suspects a thing. He's sweet, oblivious. He wouldn't know how to handle it anyway. That stung. She thought I was weak, blind, a background character in her new movie. I wanted to kick the door open and end it right there. But I didn't. Because when you're dismantling someone's world, you don't yell. You watch. You record. You let them dig. She laughed softly, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. I can't wait till we're out of this mess, she said. Till I don't have to lie anymore. I slipped back down the hallway, quietly as a ghost, and pulled out my phone. Opened the voice recorder. Saved the last few minutes of her call. Confession, in her own voice. Till I don't have to lie anymore. Oh, Rachel. You already stopped lying. You just don't know what that's going to cost you yet. Saturday morning. Sunlight leaked through the curtains. Rachel made coffee like always, moving around the kitchen in soft sweats and quiet hums, like the house wasn't rotting from the inside out. You've been quiet lately, she said, pouring me a cup. Work okay? I nodded, took the mug, forced a smile. Just a lot on my mind. She leaned against the counter, tilting her head slightly. You should see someone. Like a therapist? Yeah. It helped me a lot, honestly. She sipped her drink. It's why I've been going every Thursday. My grip tightened around the mug. Thursday. Yoga day. Ethan day. The lie came so easily from her lips it scared me. Oh, I said, keeping my tone casual. I thought your sessions were Tuesdays. She froze for half a second, blinked, then recovered. They moved me. My therapist adjusted her hours. I nodded. Makes sense. She smiled again. Sweet. Pitying. Like she thought she was winning. She had no idea she was already at checkmate and didn't see the board flipping under her. That night, after she fell asleep, again without touching me, again without a kiss, I logged into our joint insurance portal. No claims for therapy. Not one. I scrolled through 3 months of visits. Nothing. She hadn't seen a therapist in months. What she'd seen was Ethan. His place. His hands. His bed. The worst part? I didn't cry. I didn't even feel anger anymore. Just clarity. That's what happens when the last illusion falls. You stop feeling. You start calculating. I screenshotted the insurance page. Added it to the folder. Therapist lie confirmed. She'd used her mental health as a cover story. That alone was enough for most people to snap. But me? I was just getting focused. Sunday morning, I made her pancakes. She came into the kitchen wearing her robe, yawning like we were still some cozy married couple. I watched her reach for her coffee. Sleep okay? I asked. Mm. She smiled without meeting my eyes. Better than usual. I nodded. You left your bracelet on the bathroom counter. The silver one with the charm. She blinked. Oh, right. Forgot I even wore it. She didn't forget. I bought her that bracelet 5 years ago after her first miscarriage. It wasn't fancy, just meaningful. She wore it when she wanted to feel strong. Now it was in the bathroom, alone, like me. Later that day, I opened the vent cam footage from the previous night. And there it was. Rachel on the couch, legs tucked up, glass of wine in hand, and Ethan beside her, laughing. They were watching something on her laptop. Her hand rested on his thigh like it belonged there. But it was her wrist that stopped me. The bracelet. She wore it in his presence, not mine. That hit harder than anything. I paused the video, zoomed in. The charm caught the light. That tiny heart she once said reminded her of us. I had no more doubt. She'd taken everything I'd given her, my trust, my love, my forgiveness, and used it to decorate her betrayal. The next video started automatically. Ethan leaned in, kissed her neck. She didn't pull away. I closed the laptop, shut my eyes. There wasn't even rage in me anymore. Just the cold calm of someone sharpening a blade. I added a new folder. Label, sentimental evidence. Because if she thought I was just collecting proof. She hadn't even begun to understand what I was building. Monday morning, Rachel left early. Early meeting, she said. Won't be back till late. I stood at the kitchen counter, pretending to butter toast. She kissed my cheek on the way out. I didn't flinch. I just whispered, have a good day. Door clicked shut. And I breathed. Not relief. Not grief. Just space to feel it. I went to the bathroom, turned the faucet on, and screamed into a towel. Not a dramatic, movie-style scream, just enough to release what was poisoning my chest. The kind of scream that leaves your throat raw. Then I wiped my face, stood up straight, and looked in the mirror. Now we bury it, I said out loud. No more breakdowns. No more asking why. From here on, it's strategy. I went to the guest room, opened the laptop, reviewed the timeline. The folder was growing. Videos, texts, insurance screenshots, GPS pings from her phone that synced with a fitness app she never deleted. Rookie mistake. I wasn't just tracking her now. I was mapping out patterns. Same hotel. Same time. Thursdays. I dug deeper. Receipts. Card charges. There it was. Hotel bar. Room service. Spa. All under her name. She didn't even try to hide the billing. That was the most insulting part. She believed I'd never look. That I was too trusting. Too small. She wasn't just cheating. She was writing it in ink. I printed everything. Labeled it. Locked it in a drawer with a thumb drive copy. And then I cooked dinner like nothing had changed. When she walked through the door later that night, hair tousled, lips slightly smudged with lipstick, I smiled. You hungry? She blinked. Yeah. Starved. I bet. And soon, you'll be starving for something I'll never give back. Her birthday landed on a Wednesday. I made reservations at her favorite rooftop restaurant, the same place we'd gone for our anniversary. She looked surprised when I told her. You sure you're up for that? She asked. You've seemed off lately. I smiled. I've just been in my head. Work's crazy, but I want to make it special. She hugged me. You're sweet. Sweet. Not stupid. That night, she wore a black dress that used to be for us. Now, I couldn't look at her without seeing his hands on her. Dinner was pleasant. Fake laughter. Post photos. She posted one. Feeling blessed. I smiled in the picture. Because this was her last calm night. After dessert, I handed her an envelope. She opened it slowly. Inside, a printed itinerary. Spa weekend. Luxury resort. 2 nights, all paid. Her jaw dropped. Jake, this is, oh my God. I shrugged. You've been stressed. I figured you could use the rest. She leaned across the table and kissed me hard. You're amazing. She had no idea the booking was under her name. The reservation was traceable. And I'd already pinged the resort cameras with a quiet favor. An old friend of mine worked there. I knew she wouldn't go alone. I knew Ethan would be there. She thought it was a gift. It was a setup. And I was already packing a small camera of my own. Happy birthday, Rachel. Let's make memories. The day after her trip, I walked into the office and saw something in Ethan's eyes I hadn't seen before. Fear. He avoided me in the break room. Wouldn't make eye contact in meetings. Which told me everything. He knew I knew. I played dumb. Gave him a nod. Morning, man. He mumbled back. Yeah, morning. Later, in the copy room, I wasn't alone. Lena, the woman who sat 2 rows behind Ethan, leaned in close while I printed a report. Jake, she said quietly. Can I ask you something? I nodded. Sure. She hesitated. Has Rachel ever mentioned Ethan outside of work? My jaw tensed. Why? She glanced around, lowered her voice. I saw them once. A few months ago. Outside that little wine bar on 8th. They didn't see me, but the way he touched her back. It wasn't friendly. I stared at her. She kept going. I didn't say anything. Thought maybe I misread it. But, you should know, he talks about her. When he drinks. Brags, kinda. My blood ran cold, but my face stayed calm. Thanks, Lena, I said softly. She touched my arm. You don't deserve that. I left the copy room, head spinning. He bragged. She lied. They thought I was blind. But I wasn't blind anymore. I was awake. And when I was done, they'd both wish I'd stayed asleep. There are things you expect to find when you start digging. And then there are things that gut you. It was 2 a.m. when I found the voice memos. I was backing up Rachel's burner phone before wiping it. I wanted a clean copy of everything, even the audio. Most of the recordings were short. Nothing special. A few self-reminders. Shopping lists. A few giggles, half-whispered see you soon clips. Then I hit memo number 47. 3 minutes. No title. Just a timestamp. From 2 weeks ago. I hit play. Rachel's voice. I can't wait to tell him, honestly. I want to see his face when I say it. Another voice, Ethan. Chuckling. You're gonna break him. Rachel, he's so clueless. I could say anything, and he'd still hand me the keys to his life. Ethan, you gonna do it before or after you get the payout? Rachel, after. I want the money and the story. Ethan, God, you're cold. Rachel laughed, that low, breathy laugh she used to save for pillow talk. I'm not cold. I'm just done pretending. I paused the recording. My hand shook, but not from rage. From understanding. It was never just an affair. It was a setup. A slow play. She'd already planned her exit. Postnup in hand. Evidence buried. Soft lies. A smile here. A touch there. Lull me into peace while she lined up her new life. But she miscalculated one thing. I wasn't a victim. I was awake now. And I was done recording her lies. From this point forward, I'd be recording my revenge. It was a quiet Tuesday when I put the first nail in the coffin. Rachel texted mid-afternoon. Ratch, dinner tonight? Feel like I owe you something nice, interesting word. Oh. I replied, sure. How about that Italian place on 5th? 7:30. She hearted the message. When we arrived, she wore red lipstick and confidence. Like she'd already won something. But she didn't notice the extra table reserved next to us. A quiet booth with one man, drinking alone. Ethan. She flinched when she saw him. Weird. What's he doing here? I shrugged. Small world. She was quiet all through appetizers. Tense during the entrees. I pretended to be clueless. Then the waiter brought the check. I handed him a small white envelope. Would you give this to the gentleman over there? I said, motioning to Ethan. Rachel's eyes widened. Jake, what are you doing? I didn't answer. The waiter delivered it. Ethan opened it, smiled at first, then stopped cold. Inside was a photo. Rachel and Ethan. Hotel lobby. Time-stamped. Another of them at the bar. One in the elevator. And a USB drive taped to the back of the envelope. Ethan stood up. Fast. Left cash on the table and walked out without looking at us. Rachel's fork hit the table. What did you do? She whispered. I leaned in. You're not the only one who can set traps. She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man across from her. That's because I wasn't the man she married anymore. I was someone sharper. And she just realized she was dining with the enemy. Wednesday morning, Ethan didn't show up to work. Rachel was quiet too, barely touched her coffee, left early. I stayed late at the office, watching the fallout unfold from behind a polite smile. Because the email had already gone out. Sent from an anonymous account. Subject, Code of Conduct Violation, Staff Relationship and Conflict of Interest attached. The USB I gave Ethan, now filled with time-stamped hotel check-ins, dinner receipts, photos of them kissing on work trips, and one recorded phone call. All gathered, all curated, all intentional. It hit like a bomb in HR. I sat across from the company's legal officer, pretending to be concerned as she listed the internal review process. She mentioned that multiple staff had raised concerns about Rachel and Ethan's inappropriate relationship during client projects. "We're not assuming guilt," she said, "but this could compromise your wife's position if the claims hold." I nodded. "I just want everything handled fairly." Inside, I was screaming. Not with rage, with satisfaction. Because this wasn't some TikTok-style revenge stunt. This was surgical, calculated, legal, permanent. I left the room as Rachel walked in for her meeting. Her eyes met mine. She knew. I knew. And the building was already starting to collapse. She wanted to play a slow game. She should have brought a better opponent. She'd forgotten about the postnup. Most couples sign prenups. We didn't. But after my cancer scare 5 years ago, when we thought I might not make it, Rachel insisted we sign something just in case. "I don't want to be the wife who suddenly owns everything if things go wrong," she'd said. Back then, I believed her. I thought it was love. Thought it meant she wasn't after money. Now I know it was her being careful, calculating. But ironically, she screwed herself without realizing it. Because the postnup had one clause she never thought would matter. In the event of proven marital infidelity, the non-breaching spouse shall receive full ownership of shared marital assets. In plain English, if she cheats, I get everything. The house, the joint account, my retirement, even her car, because I'd co-signed it. I found the notarized document in the back of our safe, right where we left it. She hadn't touched it since we signed. I read it twice, slowly, then again, then smiled. Because now, I didn't just have evidence. I had leverage. All I had to do was prove the affair in court, and I already had hotel receipts, camera footage, and her voice on a memo saying she planned to tell me after she got her money. That wasn't just infidelity. That was fraud with intent. I wasn't just going to divorce her. I was going to erase her from every part of the life she tried to steal. And the most beautiful part? She wrote her own downfall, in her own words, with her signature at the bottom. I walked into my lawyer's office on a Thursday afternoon. Casual, calm. Alan Whitmore was one of those attorneys who looked more like a retired linebacker than a divorce shark. But he was smart, very smart, and when I laid everything out on his desk, his lips curled into a slow grin. "Jesus," he muttered, flipping through screenshots. "You weren't kidding." I handed him the flash drive. Everything's timestamped. Video, audio, paper trail. Her voice, admitting the affair. Her plan to take the money and leave. He leaned back in his chair, hands folded behind his head. "And the postnup?" I slid the document across the desk. Alan read it silently, then nodded. "This," he said, tapping the paper, "is a nuclear weapon." I didn't respond. He kept talking. "Jake, you don't just have a divorce case here. You've got a clear, calculated financial setup. You could file under marital fraud, get spousal support, take the assets. Hell, even go after her for emotional damages." I shook my head. "I don't want her money. I want her to watch everything she tried to steal slip through her fingers." He smiled again, this time colder. "Then we go for a strategic burn. Serve her on neutral ground. Hit her with a cease contact order, lock down accounts, and leak nothing to her until the filing is complete." "When can we start?" "Already have," he said. And just like that, I had a legal war machine behind me. Not for vengeance. For justice. Rachel played the long game. But I was about to beat her at it. With signatures. Not screaming. With cold facts. Not fists. And a lawyer who knew exactly where to press the blade. I'd never met her in person before. Just saw her once at a company Christmas party, back when Ethan was still pretending to be a decent man. Her name was Claire. We met at a quiet cafe, mid-afternoon. She looked polished but tired, like someone who'd seen too much and kept going anyway. "Thanks for coming," I said as she sat down. She gave a dry laugh. "You said it was about Ethan." "Of course I came." I slid a folder across the table. She opened it. Inside, screenshots. Photos. The vent cam footage. Hotel charges. Voice memos. Her face didn't change much. but her hand gripped her coffee a little tighter. I figured, she said. But, damn. I nodded. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking for help. She looked at me. What kind of help? Legal, I said. Backing. Testimony if I need it. And something else. I paused, then leaned in slightly. I want you in the room when I take them down. Claire raised her eyebrows. You want to team up? I want her to feel what she made me feel. Not just alone, but exposed. Broken. Like her whole plan crumbled in front of everyone she trusted. Claire looked at the photo of Ethan and Rachel outside the hotel. Then at me. She used you. He used me. Let's return the favor. We shook hands across the table. Two people burned by the same fire. Now ready to strike the match together. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just two exes smiling through coffee, while planning the destruction of the ones who broke them. The resort Rachel was staying at wasn't random. I picked it because it had cameras everywhere. Lobby, bar, elevators, even the outdoor spa cabanas. And more importantly, I knew someone who worked security there. Josh. We went to college together. I called him 2 days before Rachel's trip. Need a favor, I told him. Jake, this is personal, isn't it? Yeah. I need timestamped footage. Her checking in. Him showing up later. Them leaving together. Whatever you can get. Josh didn't ask questions. Just said, if it happens on property, I'll get it to you. And so, Friday night, I sat in my guest room, laptop open, watching the resort's lobby feed. 7:13 p.m. Rachel walked in alone, wearing sunglasses, pulling her roller bag. She smiled at the receptionist. Signed in under the booking I made for her. Rachel Moore, room 216. Alone for now. But at 8:47 p.m., the elevator pinged again. Ethan walked in. No luggage. Just confidence. He walked straight to the elevators like he'd done it 100 times. Room 216. They didn't even bother waiting. At 9:03 p.m., they ordered wine from the resort restaurant, charged to the room. At 9:22, they were out on the balcony, kissing, caught on a camera tucked into the patio roofline. Clear as daylight. Josh sent me everything. Photos, videos, even their breakfast order the next morning. 2 entrees. 1 room. Proof. Layered. Unshakable. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just labeled the folder. Final proof. Confirmed. Then I sat back and waited. Because her return wouldn't be to the same house. It would be to the reckoning. Sunday night. She came back home glowing. Tanned. Loose. Lying. Trip was perfect, she said, dropping her bag at the door. Exactly what I needed. I nodded. You look rested. She kissed my cheek. You're the best for setting that up. I smiled. Thought you'd enjoy it. We had takeout on the patio. She poured wine, legs stretched out, acting like nothing was wrong. Midway through her glass, I pulled a small black box from under the table. What's this? She asked. Something I found while cleaning. She opened it. Inside, a flash drive. She froze. What is this? Just memories, I said calmly. Hotel check-ins. Spa charges. Security footage. Balcony kisses. Her face cracked open. And before you ask, yes. Everything's time-stamped. Cross-referenced. Downloaded in triplicate. She pushed the wine away. Jake. I held up a hand. Don't. She looked panicked. It wasn't what you think. Then what was it? I asked, eyes locked on hers. You cheating by accident? She tried to speak. Failed. I kept going. I've got voice memos. Video. Bank charges. A legal postnup clause with your signature. This isn't a fight anymore, Rachel. It's a funeral. She stood up. I was unhappy. I leaned in, low and sharp. Then you should have left. Not lied. Not plotted. Not tried to take everything. Silence stretched between us like a blade. She realized, in that moment, she wasn't just caught. She was finished. And she knew it. By Monday morning, the HR investigation had reached her office. They didn't fire her outright, not yet, but they froze her pending status on several internal projects. The promotion she bragged about 3 weeks ago? Pulled back. Unethical behavior, conflict of interest, misuse of client travel budgets. I didn't need to do anything else. I'd already sent the documentation. Anonymously. But precisely. Multiple managers had access now. One of them was married. He wasn't amused. Rachel called me during lunch. I didn't pick up. She texted, "Jake, I know you're doing this. Please, can we talk?" "No, we can't. Because for 10 years, I loved you. And you smiled while planning how to destroy me." Later that evening, she came home early. Her makeup was smudged. Her eyes red. "I'm being audited," she said flatly. "They're digging through everything." I folded laundry on the couch, cool and even. "That sucks." She stood there in silence. Then, "You're going to ruin my life." I looked her in the eye. "No, Rachel, you did that. I'm just showing the receipts." She didn't respond. Just walked upstairs in silence, the weight starting to land now. Not just guilt. Consequences. For the first time, she wasn't the one in control. And she had no idea how far I was willing to go. Rachel always said her father was her rock. Old school, proud, and conservative, the kind of man who spoke more with his silence than his words. He adored her. Thought she was too good for this generation. He also happened to be a retired judge. The day after HR pulled her promotion, I sent him an email. I didn't add drama. I didn't insult her. I attached a folder. Subject line: "I'm sorry you have to see this." Inside, screen recordings, photos, voice memos, and the postnup clause with her signature. No commentary. No emotional baggage. Just the facts. I got his read receipt within 20 minutes. No reply. But that night, Rachel came home shaking. "You sent it to him?" she asked. I didn't stop folding my shirt. "I did." Her voice cracked. "Jake, he's not speaking to me." I looked up slowly. "I know." Her hands trembled. "You don't understand. My father thinks I'm—" She couldn't finish. Because in that moment, it hit her. She wasn't someone's daughter anymore. She was someone's disappointment. Her father had always been her safety net. And I just ripped it out from under her. Not with revenge. With reality. Rachel's family loved brunch. Sunday tradition. Her mom, sister, cousin all gathered at a charming patio restaurant. I knew she'd be there. So did my lawyer. We had her served just as the avocado toast arrived. Rachel was laughing when the process server walked up. He said her name. Handed her a manila envelope. "You've been served." Confusion turned to panic. "What?" She opened it. Saw the header. Dissolution of marriage. She froze. Her mom leaned over. "Rachel? What is that?" Her sister blinked. "Wait, is that—" Rachel stood up. Knocked over her drink. "This isn't real," she said. This is revenge." The server walked off without a word. Inside the envelope, detailed claims. Infidelity. Misuse of marital assets. Violations of contractual agreements. I made sure it was written in plain language. No legalese. Her mom's face went pale. Her sister's mouth hung open. Rachel looked around like she wanted to disappear. But she couldn't. Because there's nowhere to hide when you burn your own house down. She didn't come home that night. Didn't call. Didn't text. I didn't reach out. The house was quiet. Still. Like the storm had passed. But I knew better. She showed up the next morning. No makeup. Hoodie. Eyes swollen. "I need to talk," she said. I stepped aside. Let her in. We sat at the kitchen table. She didn't touch the coffee I poured. "I never meant to hurt you," she whispered. I didn't reply. She kept going. I felt invisible. For years. I kept trying to feel wanted again. I leaned back. "So you cheated?" "No," she stopped. "Yes. But it wasn't just that. It was everything. I didn't think you'd notice. You stopped looking at me." That part stung. But I wasn't letting her shift the blame. "I noticed," I said. "I just didn't think the woman I married would lie to my face while sleeping with someone I trusted." She looked away. "I lost everything." I nodded. "And you still haven't hit the bottom." She flinched. Silence stretched between us. No yelling. No begging. Just the sound of trust rotting between two people who used to be everything. She left without saying goodbye. And for the first time, I didn't want her to say it. Because I knew she meant it when she left. She wasn't coming back. Not to this version of her life. Not to me. And honestly, good. I thought Ethan was the beginning and end of it. I thought I'd uncovered it all, the affair, the lies, the manipulation. But pain doesn't always knock on your front door. Sometimes it sneaks in through the back. It started with a DM. from a man named Kyle. It landed in my request folder with a subject line that stopped my heart. You don't know the full story. I opened it. I don't know how to say this, but I was involved with your wife. I didn't know she was married until it was too late. It started at a yoga retreat last fall. It wasn't supposed to be serious, but it lasted for months. I sat frozen. This wasn't Ethan. This was someone else. A different affair. Different timeline. Overlapping. I responded. Within the hour, Kyle sent screenshots. Messages. Pictures. Nothing overly explicit, but intimate. Familiar. Rachel calling him my piece. Her saying he doesn't suspect a thing. Dates that overlapped while she was still with Ethan. She wasn't unhappy and looking for love. She was addicted to being wanted. I scrolled through the messages, hands shaking. Kyle apologized. Said he ended it when he found out she was married. Said she played the "my husband doesn't understand me" card like a professional. She didn't just cheat. She double-dipped. Ethan was a distraction. Kyle was a secret. And me? I was the idiot paying for the Wi-Fi she used to text them both. Everything I'd built was true. The revenge, the strategy, but now I realized. I wasn't playing the same game she was. I was playing catch-up. Claire, Ethan's ex, met me again at the same cafe. I slid my phone across the table, screen showing the new screenshots. She stared, lips parting. Jesus. A second one. I nodded. Met at a yoga retreat. Said it started months ago. She leaned back. She was with Ethan during that same time. I know. Claire tapped her nails against the cup. So what do we do now? I looked at her. We shift tactics. Because now this wasn't about two people having an affair. This was about Rachel constructing an entire second life behind my back. She used me as a financial ladder. Used Ethan for emotional distraction. And used Kyle for fun. Calculated. Cold. Claire looked at me, something sharper in her eyes now. She played you. Played all of us. I nodded. But I'm done playing. She slid her phone across the table. Then let's make sure she never plays anyone again. Inside, a contact. Kyle's wife. Because yes, he was married too. That's when it hit me. Rachel wasn't just cheating. She was blowing up other people's lives too. Claire smiled, eyes dark. She wanted a new life? Let's help her get there. I found it by accident. Her journal was tucked in a box under the guest bed. The same one I'd been sleeping in for weeks. A leather cover. Cream pages. The kind she used to write in during vacations. I opened it out of curiosity. I kept reading because I couldn't stop. The first few pages were casual. Thoughts. Lists. Random affirmations. Then it shifted. I feel alive again. 2 lives. 1 mask. He still doesn't know. Per Jake. Ethan makes me feel seen. Kyle makes me feel free. I flipped further. If I play it right, I can walk away with everything. I hate lying. But I hate being invisible more. I'm not built for one man. I'm built for escape. It wasn't just a diary. It was a blueprint for betrayal. I read for an hour. She wrote about faking therapy appointments. About how easily I trusted her. How she tested boundaries, lied about small things to see how far she could push. This was never about love or passion or even lust. This was about power, control. She was experimenting with destruction, and I was the test subject. By the time I closed the journal, I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt focus. I added it to the evidence folder and labeled it Weapon Number 13, her words against herself. Because now, I had her entire inner world, and I was going to use it to end the one she thought she owned. 2 days after I served her at brunch, Rachel tried to flip the script. I got a call from my lawyer at 9 a.m. She's filing a countersuit, Alan said, calm as ever, alleging emotional abuse and privacy invasion. I blinked. She's what? She claims your surveillance of her violated her boundaries and that you were emotionally manipulative throughout the marriage. I didn't laugh. I didn't even swear. I just sat still. This was her last play, paint herself as the victim. Alan continued, we'll respond. You've documented everything. She's not going to get far. But be ready. This is going public now. I hung up, and I realized she wasn't afraid of what she'd done. She was afraid of looking like she'd lost. So now, she was going to throw everything at the wall and hope something stuck. A day later, I saw it. An Instagram story. Black background. White text. Sometimes the people who smile at you the most are the ones who destroyed your peace behind closed doors. Hundreds of likes. Sympathetic DMs from her friends. Comments from people who didn't know the full story. She wanted control of the narrative, so I took it from her. I contacted a friend who worked with a local reporter who ran a truth behind the posts column covering high-profile relationship scandals with evidence-based write-ups. Sent the full timeline. Screenshots. Memos. Journal entries. No drama. Just truth. By Friday, her quote-unquote victim post was replaced with silence. The reporter didn't name her, but anyone who followed us could connect the dots. And they did. Because lies are loud. But proof is louder. Saturday morning, I got a message request on Facebook. From a name I didn't recognize. Aubrey. I clicked. Her profile was private, but the preview of the message hit like a freight train. I'm Kyle's wife. I think we need to talk. I didn't respond right away. Took a walk. Let the air hit my face. Then I messaged back. I know who you are. I've been expecting you. We talked that night over a phone call that lasted 2 hours. Aubrey had found Rachel's name in Kyle's phone a few weeks ago. Caught him deleting messages. Pressed until he cracked. She cried. Screamed. Then got smart like I did. She'd already started filing for divorce. Already had screenshots. Already knew Rachel wasn't just a fling, she was someone who made Kyle think he was starting over. I don't want revenge, Aubrey said. I just want people to know who she really is. I paused. Then let's show them. We agreed to release a statement, simple, respectful, and direct. No mudslinging. No slander. Just truth. Multiple relationships. Same timeline. Repeated behavior. Emotional manipulation. Deception layered on top of lies. Aubrey had a cousin who worked in PR. She crafted it like a press release and dropped it on LinkedIn, where Rachel had just updated her job status to freelance consultant. 3 hours later, her profile was flooded with comments. Some called her out. Some were subtle, just the eye emoji. But the message was clear. People were watching now. And Rachel was shrinking under the spotlight she once craved. That night, I got another message, this one from Claire. I think you should know, she wrote. Ethan's family found out. Turns out, Ethan's little brother stumbled across the same photos I had. The ones Josh had pulled from the hotel cameras. And Ethan's mom? She was old school. Loyal to his ex, Claire, even after the divorce. Within hours, the entire extended family cut him off. Claire sent me a screenshot from a group thread. Ethan, you didn't just cheat. You embarrassed this family. Don't come around here for a while. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. Because this wasn't a game anymore. It was consequence. Rachel's actions hadn't just torn apart my life. Or hers. She'd fractured 2 families, and nearly a third. Aubrey left Kyle. Moved in with her sister. Filed full custody paperwork. Ethan lost his last shred of support. And Rachel? She sat in the middle of it all. Silent. Surrounded by broken pieces she thought she could juggle forever. Actions have aftershocks, and hers were just starting to roll in. At that moment, I realized something. This wasn't even revenge anymore. This was truth catching up, and it never misses. Rachel showed up uninvited. It was late, almost 10 p.m., and I was reading on the couch, lights low, house quiet. She knocked once. No doorbell. Like she knew I'd answer. Like she still believed some part of me might care. I opened the door. She looked like hell. Dark circles. Hoodie zipped to her throat. Hands stuffed in her pockets like a kid on trial. I need to talk, she said. I stepped aside. She walked in like a ghost, barely breathing, barely present. I lost everything, she said, not even looking at me. My job. My reputation. Ethan won't return my messages. Kyle's wife emailed my mother. My dad won't take my calls. She paused. Looked at me for the first time. You destroyed me. No, I said, standing firm. I exposed you. That's different. Her lip trembled, but no tears came. She was too tired for those now. I want to fix this, she said. Make it right. I tilted my head. You mean publicly? Like you ruined me. She went quiet. Post a statement. I continued. Online. In your words. Not some vague pity grab. You tell the truth. No deflecting. No excuses. You own what you did. Her eyes narrowed. That's humiliation. No, I said, calm as ever. It's justice. Let them see the blueprint. She swallowed. Give me until tomorrow. I nodded once. Midnight. After that, I hit send. She walked out without saying goodbye, and I closed the door, knowing something had finally shifted in her. Not guilt. Fear. The same fear I once felt when I realized who she really was. Midnight came and went. No post. No apology. No call. I didn't send the journal entries yet. Not out of mercy. Just patience. I wanted her to sit in it, to realize she'd made her last move. The next morning, her Instagram was deactivated. Her Facebook? Gone. LinkedIn scrubbed clean. She'd gone dark. But silence doesn't undo truth. And disappearing isn't the same as accountability. By noon, Claire called. She didn't post, she said. I know. She's hiding. I expected that too. Claire sighed. So what now? I paused, eyes on the journal beside me. The raw handwriting. The fantasies. The plans. She gets a taste of her own medicine. I called Josh, the resort security guy. Remember the footage you pulled? I asked. Think you could clean up the audio? He laughed softly. Already did. What? I sent him a list of timestamps. Then I called Alan, my lawyer. I'm not releasing anything public, I told him. I want it all in the court record. Let the judge see who she really is. Alan agreed. We'll file a supplemental brief with the footage and journal. You want it private? No, I said. I want it on record. Let her explain it under oath. By 3 p.m., the documents were filed. By 6 p.m., Rachel texted. You promised not to go public. Please don't do this. I stared at the message. You were supposed to own it. You chose silence instead. She didn't reply, and I didn't need her to, because now, the courtroom was going to finish what she ran from. I hadn't told my mother everything. Only pieces. Enough to keep her from worrying, but not enough to make her furious. But mothers know, and mine. She knew more than she let on. She called me the day after Rachel's court response was made public. You busy? She asked, voice steady. Not really, I said, though I was half-drafting another filing with Alan. Rachel came by the house. I froze. What? Yesterday. Unannounced. She looked worn down. Told me you were trying to ruin her life. I sat up. And what did you say? My mother's voice was colder than I'd ever heard it. I told her she ruined her own life the moment she thought she could betray my son and still expect mercy. I swallowed the knot in my throat. She cried, Jake, she continued. Not from pain. From exposure. She said she didn't think it would get this far. I shook my head. It's always a game until they lose. Mom was quiet for a beat. Then, you did good. You held the line. And you didn't become her in the process. That part stung. Not because I doubted it, but because I needed to hear it. I thanked her. And as I hung up, something hit me hard. Rachel wasn't afraid of courts, or emails, or exposure. She was afraid of witnesses. People she used to fool, now turning their backs. Her web of lies was tearing apart not because of what I did, but because no one believed her anymore. And that's a punishment no court can deliver. The last time she came to the house, it was raining. She didn't knock. She stood at the front door, soaked to the bone, mascara bleeding, hair stuck to her face like something from a movie you didn't want to finish watching. I opened the door. She didn't speak. She just stared. Finally, she said, I can't breathe anymore. I didn't answer. She stepped forward. I wake up in panic. I sleep and dream about you reading that journal. She started crying. Not pretty crying. Ugly, loud, desperate. I ruined everything, she sobbed. I broke myself. I didn't move. I don't want your forgiveness, she whispered. I just want the pain to stop. She looked up. What do I do? I stepped back. Go feel what you made me feel, I said softly. Then maybe you'll understand. She collapsed to her knees, shaking. But I didn't pick her up. I didn't comfort her. Because you can't comfort someone who set their own fire and is now choking on the smoke. I walked away, left the door open behind me, and let the storm swallow her whole. It was the calm before the court date. I was grabbing coffee from a quiet corner shop when I saw her again. Rachel. Alone. Hood up. Sunglasses on, even though it was overcast. She walked up like she had the right. Like the months of chaos she caused were something that could be washed away with small talk and a fake smile. I heard it's this Friday, she said softly. Yep, I replied, not even turning my shoulders toward her. She nodded. They're going to ask me things. Things I don't know how to answer. That's not my problem, I said. I didn't plan all of it, she added quickly. Not like you think. I finally looked at her. Eyes rimmed red. Skin pale. Hands fidgeting like a child caught in a lie. You meant for it to go far enough? I said flatly. That hit her. I saw it. She blinked. Her mouth opened, then closed again. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded. That's your word. This? I motioned between us. This is mine. I turned to leave. She reached out. Lightly. Barely brushed my arm. I stopped and looked down at her hand. And with zero emotion, I said it. Don't ever touch me again. She flinched. I walked away. Not fast. Not angry. Just finished. Because some lines, once crossed, aren't just read, they're permanent. That same night, I cleaned out our old storage closet. I was pulling down a box of winter coats when something slid off the top shelf. A phone. Old. No case. Just tossed into a shoebox like it didn't matter. I turned it on. No lock screen. No password. And inside, dozens of messages. Not to Ethan. Not to Kyle. To someone named T. This wasn't a third affair. This was pre-Ethan. Pre-Kyle. A series of flirty, desperate messages from Rachel, dated over a year ago. He's boring again. I can't stand how quiet he is. Wish you were here tonight instead of him. He's asleep downstairs. I'm wide awake thinking about you. She'd been disloyal long before she physically cheated. This phone, this tiny forgotten device, was her rawest truth. Because she hadn't just betrayed me once. She'd been testing the waters. Seeing how far she could go without drowning. I dropped the phone into a plastic bag and added it to the folder. I was no longer chasing revenge. I was presenting a pattern. And when the court saw it, they wouldn't just grant the divorce. They'd see her for who she really was, a long-term liar with no remorse. Alan had a tech guy, a quiet freelancer named Mitch who wore glasses thicker than confidence. I handed him the burner. Whatever was deleted, I said, I want it back. 3 days later, Mitch handed me a flash drive. Recovered texts, videos, audio. Be careful, he warned. Some of it's personal. He wasn't wrong. There were videos Rachel had sent. Intimate. Unedited. Labeled with initials I didn't recognize. There were texts begging for attention, mocking me in ways I didn't know she was capable of. One said, I fake it all. He can't tell. It's almost funny now. Another, he's so careful with my heart. If only he knew it was already gone. But the one that stopped me cold? If he ever finds out, I'll flip it. I'll cry. Say he yelled. He's too quiet to fight back anyway. That wasn't lust. That was manipulation. Strategy. Defense plan. She was ready to weaponize my silence. My calm. She didn't just cheat. She prepared for how to survive being caught. I sat there, hands locked together, staring at the screen for what felt like hours. Then I opened the court folder, slid in the recovered files, labeled it intent, because now I had her thoughts, her fears, her strategy, and soon her signature on the end of it all. I remembered the night we fought, the only time I raised my voice in months. Not yelling, just raised. Firm. She tried to bait me, kept repeating the same lines. Why don't you fight back? You don't even care enough to be angry. Say something. Yell for once. That night, I recorded it. My voice was calm, controlled. Hers? Wild, sharp, probing. She kept pushing. Say it. Come on. Call me a whore. That's what you think, right? No, I'd said, because I don't need to insult you to leave you. And that silence that followed? It was the real moment she knew I was gone. Alan included that clip in the case file. This will hit hard in court, he said. Shows contrast. Temperament. Premeditated provocation. I nodded. But it wasn't for the court. It was for me. Because it reminded me who I became in all this. Not a monster. Not a victim. Not a coward. Just a man who got tired of being collateral in someone else's game. And finally said, enough. It was raining that morning. Of course it was. I walked into the courthouse with Alan beside me, both of us calm. Silent. like we'd done this before. Rachel was already inside. She wore gray, no makeup, hair tied tight, like she was trying to disappear into the seat. She didn't look at me when I walked in. Didn't need to. The judge entered. We stood. Saturday. Routine. Then it started. Alan began by introducing the case: breach of postnup terms, emotional misconduct, infidelity, premeditated manipulation. Her lawyer, some sharp-faced guy in a cheap Navy suit, tried to deflect. She was under emotional duress. The marriage was already fractured. The surveillance was excessive. The judge leaned in. The footage and audio show a pattern of repeated deceit and deliberate concealment of multiple affairs. And you're claiming duress? Rachel stared at her hands. Then Alan dropped the flash drive. We'd like to enter this into record, Your Honor. Labeled Exhibits A through L. Audio recordings, screenshots, and a journal entry we believe is self-explanatory. The judge nodded. Rachel's lawyer turned red. We haven't reviewed these. You had 72 hours, Alan said coldly. Then came the moment. The playback. Her voice. Laughing. Planning. Dismissing me. He's too quiet to fight back. I'll cry if he catches me. Flip the story. The courtroom was dead silent. The judge pressed pause. Looked straight at Rachel. Is this your voice, Mrs. Moore? She nodded slowly. I didn't flinch. And for the first time, Rachel couldn't hide behind the he said. She said, fog. The truth wasn't a story anymore. It was evidence. The final ruling came 2 days later. Alan called me, voice steady. It's done. I was already at the house, packing what I needed. She waived all asset claims, he said. The judge honored the postnup. You get the house. Full control of finances. Your credit's clean. She leaves with nothing but her name. I sat down on the stairs. No smile. Just breath. Anything else? I asked. She submitted a statement, Alan added. Said she takes responsibility for the outcome. I almost laughed. Now she takes responsibility? Thanks, Alan. I hung up. She texted that night. I signed it. I won't fight. Just, I hope someday you don't hate me. I didn't reply, because she wasn't my problem anymore. She wasn't my pain. She wasn't even my memory. She was just a name on a file folder I'd eventually forget. But I knew she wouldn't forget me, because she didn't lose a marriage. She lost a man who stayed calm while she burned him alive, and still walked away standing. The locksmith came the next morning. Changed every lock, gate, garage code. The entire house got a reset. Rachel's things were boxed and stacked on the porch. I didn't touch them, didn't look through them, just left a note. Collected and untouched. Pick up by Friday. After that, they're trash. She didn't come. She sent someone else, a cousin, maybe. Didn't matter. That night, I sat in the living room alone. No vent camera. No hidden doubts. Just silence, the real kind, not the quiet that hides betrayal. The walls didn't feel haunted anymore. I turned on music for the first time in weeks. Not to drown anything out. Just because I could. I wasn't healed. But I wasn't broken anymore either. Just new. Claire called me 3 days later. Guess who just lost his job? I raised an eyebrow. Ethan? She laughed. Yup. Apparently corporate reviewed the footage after legal got wind of the court case. They called it reputation risk. He was escorted out. I let out a breath. It wasn't joy. Just a quiet, full circle kind of peace. What about Rachel? I asked. Last I heard, Claire said, she's working temp jobs. Living with a friend. Pretty much blacklisted from anything in the same industry. I paused. You feel bad? Claire answered without hesitation. Not even a little. Neither did I. Because it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about balance. And watching the scales finally tip the right way. It was Claire who told me first. Her name came up in a recruiter chat I'm in, she said over coffee. One of the HR leads flagged her. Said she applied twice under different names. Got denied both times. I didn't say much. Claire continued. Apparently, someone shared the court record link. The hiring manager saw the file and flagged her as high risk. It wasn't revenge. It was consequence. Carved into the system. A digital reminder that some reputations don't just fade, they get burned into record. I looked her up later that night. Her profile was gone. No social media. No portfolio. No LinkedIn. like she'd scrubbed herself from the internet. But the search engine still showed her name, next to keywords like court document, public file, and infidelity ruling. She wasn't erased. She was permanently marked. The world hadn't canceled her, but it stopped trusting her. And in a job market that runs on trust, that's the same as being unemployed. It started as an email, a show called The Break Line, a mid-sized podcast about betrayal, truth, and justice, reached out. The host, Julia, said she'd followed the court documents, read everything, then found Claire's LinkedIn post and connected the dots. She asked if I'd be willing to share the story, anonymously, if I wanted. I hesitated, but then I remembered what it felt like to sit in silence, to be lied to while still holding her hand. Maybe someone needed to hear what it looked like when you didn't go crazy, when you played the long game, the smart game. So I said yes. The episode was recorded in a quiet studio. Julia was calm, professional. Her voice warm, but sharp when it needed to be. She didn't pry. She just asked, "When did you first realize something was off?" And from there, it poured out. The note under the plate. The burner phone. The slow, cold unraveling. Not dramatized. Not pitiful. Just honest. At the end, Julia leaned forward behind the mic. "What would you say to someone going through this now?" I thought for a second, then said, "Don't try to win them back. Win yourself back." The episode aired 3 days later. It didn't go viral, but the inbox filled up. Hundreds of messages. Men, women, people in silence. I needed this. You told my story. I'm not crazy. I didn't reply to all of them. Just smiled. Because for once, my voice hadn't been used against me. It had been heard. 2 weeks later, a plain envelope arrived at my doorstep. No return address. Inside, a handwritten letter. 2 pages. Black ink. Familiar handwriting. "Rachel." I read it once. Then again. The tone wasn't manipulative this time. It wasn't begging or blaming. It was quiet. Heavy. "I can't ask for forgiveness. I wouldn't believe I deserve it. But I'm sorry. I hurt you because I was empty, and instead of facing that, I tried to feel full by being wanted. You never failed me. I failed you and myself." There was no "please come back." No request. Just the truth. She ended with a line that stuck. "I know now that destroying something beautiful doesn't make you feel powerful. It just makes you aware of how broken you already were." I folded the letter, put it in a drawer I rarely open, not because it deserved safekeeping, but because it was proof that even liars break, eventually. And sometimes, the apology doesn't change a thing. It just arrives when you've already moved on. It started with a message in my inbox. "I heard your story. I've lived some of it. Not all, but enough. Coffee." Her name was Danny. She was a therapist. Divorced. Smart. Didn't play games. We met in a bookstore cafe. Neutral territory. She wasn't flirtatious. Wasn't fragile. She was clear-eyed. Grounded. And when I told her I didn't know how to date again, she smiled. "Don't call it dating," she said. "Call it learning to talk to someone who doesn't lie to you." We talked for 3 hours. No pressure. No performance. Just shared space between two people who'd lost enough to know the value of quiet honesty. I didn't feel butterflies. I felt peace. And that was better. Because the storm had passed. And someone out there had recognized my voice in the rubble. And met me in the quiet after. It happened by accident. A quiet Tuesday at the grocery store. I was grabbing coffee and cereal, standing in line behind a woman arguing with the self-checkout machine. It took me a second to realize who it was. Rachel. Hair shorter. No makeup. She looked smaller, somehow. Like someone had turned down her volume. She turned, caught my eye. We both froze. She didn't smile. Neither did I. For a moment, it was just silence. Heavy and still. Then she nodded. Slight. Almost like a whisper. "Jake." "Rachel." She swallowed. Her hand shook slightly as she grabbed her bag. I didn't expect, me either. She held her receipt, but didn't leave. Just stood there like she had more to say, but wasn't sure the words would matter. "I heard your podcast," she finally said. I raised an eyebrow. "You did?" She nodded once. "You told it," gently. "You could have burned me harder." I didn't need to. She looked away. "I'm trying," she said softly. To be better. To stay small. Humble. I nodded. Good. She finally stepped aside. I won't bother you again. You didn't bother me this time, I replied. But it's okay to keep that promise. Her eyes softened for a second. Regret? Maybe. Then she left. No dramatic goodbye. No emotional collapse. Just a woman walking out the door with her groceries, and a man who didn't follow her this time. The first real dinner I had in the house again, with actual laughter, wasn't alone. It was with Danny. We made chicken piccata together, arguing over garlic amounts and pasta texture. She was barefoot, hair tied up, wearing one of those oversized hoodies that made her look even more at peace. Want red or white? She asked, holding up both bottles. White, I said. We're being classy tonight. She grinned. This is classy. Look around. I gestured. Nobody's crying. That's classy to me. She laughed. That real kind of laugh that doesn't ask for attention. Halfway through dinner, she paused. Can I ask something? I nodded. Do you miss her? Be honest. I looked at my fork, then back at her. No, I said. I missed the man I was before she made me question my worth. But her? No, not even a little. Danny didn't say anything at first, just reached across the table and held my hand. And I realized something then. Love doesn't always roar back in. Sometimes it just sits across from you quietly, lets you chew in peace, and listens without flinching. There was no rush, no labels, just two people rebuilding something fragile. And for once, it wasn't built on lies. It was dinner. It was quiet. It was real. It didn't come all at once. Not in some grand sunrise moment where everything clicked. Healing came slow, in pieces, like the first time I changed the sheets without thinking about her perfume, or the first morning I didn't reach for 2 mugs out of habit, or the day I passed that restaurant, the one where she didn't eat the steak, and I didn't feel like throwing up anymore. It was in the details. It was in the silence that didn't hurt. Danny helped, but she didn't save me. That part? I did on my own. There were nights I still stared at the ceiling, wondering how I missed it all. How many smiles she faked. How many lies I let pass because I was trying to be the man who didn't make drama. But I learned something. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Calm doesn't mean blind. And forgiveness? Forgiveness isn't about them walking free. It's about you walking away without chains. I saw Rachel once more, months later. In traffic. She didn't see me. She was in the passenger seat of someone's car, looking out the window, blank, unreaching, and I felt nothing. Not hate, not sadness, just nothing, because that chapter was closed, and I was already living in the sequel. It's funny how things that almost destroy you become the very things that wake you up. I look back now and realize I didn't lose something valuable. I escaped something destructive, and I didn't just survive it. I documented it, so that maybe someone else sitting in silence right now, someone being lied to, gaslit, made to feel like their instincts are wrong, might feel a little less alone. This wasn't just a story. This was proof that betrayal isn't the end of your worth. It's the beginning of your awakening. So here's my final question to you, the one still watching, still reading. What would you do if the person you loved most looked you in the eyes and lied without flinching? Would you scream? Would you beg? Or would you do what I did? Stand up quietly, collect the truth, and walk out holding your soul intact. Now tell me something in the comments. Where in the world are you watching this from? Because I know one thing for sure, betrayal speaks every language. And if this hit home, like this, share this, not just for me, but for everyone who needs to know they're not crazy. They're just finally waking up. And if you're still here, still breathing, you're already stronger than you think. Subscribe. Stick around. We tell the kind of stories here that remind you who the hell you are. Not the victim, the survivor. And that's the real ending. Thanks for staying with me. Jake, the end.